Dinner at mom and dad's has become a minefield. I slide into my seat at the end of the table, already aware of the weight pressing down on me. So, Ella, how's the job search going? Mom asks, her tone a little too sweet. I know she's asking about the rejections. I can feel the unspoken judgment in her words. Same as usual, I say, picking at my salad. Still waiting for the right fit. Mom's eyes narrow for a second. Well, you've been waiting for a while now. Maybe you should take something, even if it's not exactly what you want. I shrug, trying to keep it light. I'm just being selective. Trying to find something that fits with what I want to do. Brian snorts from across the table, leaning back in his chair. Selective? More like picky? No wonder you're turning down opportunities. No one's gonna hand you a perfect job. I clench my jaw, fighting the urge to snap back. It's not about perfection, it's about making sure it's the right fit. Brian rolls his eyes, clearly unimpressed. Yeah, well, how's that working out for you? Still living in that tiny apartment, huh? Frank, my dad, chimes in from the other side of the table, his voice thick with disapproval. I don't understand why you haven't just settled down, Ella. You could have had a real career by now. Get a stable job, get a mortgage, do what normal people do. Dad, I'm not interested in a 9-to-5 job, I say, trying to stay calm. I'm doing work that matters. I'm freelancing as a photographer. I'm working on projects that focus on social justice, environmental issues, things that make a real difference. Making a difference? Frank scoffs. You're wasting your potential. You're dragging down the family name with this hobby you've decided to call a career. Your brother is out there making real progress, and you're playing around with a camera. Mom clears her throat, her voice laced with frustration. Ella, you could have gone to business school or at least studied something more practical. You're embarrassing us with this unconventional choice. My heart pounds in my chest, the walls closing in. I want to explain myself, tell them how much I believe in the work I'm doing. But instead, I just sit there, feeling the weight of their disappointment like a heavy cloak around my shoulders. You don't get it, I mutter, my voice barely above a whisper. Brian shakes his head, mocking me. No, you don't get it, Ella. You're too proud to admit you failed. The words sting, harder than I want to admit. I want to fight back, to scream at them that I haven't failed. I've just chosen a different path. But instead, I stare down at my plate, the silence between us thick and suffocating. I sit there, the words burning in my throat, but I can't seem to get them out. The silence stretches between us like a thick fog. I don't know why I'm still here. Why do I let them do this to me every time? Frank shifts in his chair, leaning forward, his voice low but sharp. I didn't raise you to be some artist. You've got potential, Ella, and you're wasting it. Wasting it. You don't get it, I say, trying to steady my breath. What I'm doing matters. I'm working on projects that actually make a difference. I'm not just shooting random photos for a paycheck. This is important. Brian snorts again, leaning back like he's got all the answers. Important? What, you think your little cause makes a difference in the world? It's a hobby, Ella. A glorified hobby. I feel my jaw tighten. My brother's smugness grates at me like nails on a chalkboard. It's not a hobby, Brian. I'm using my work to raise awareness, to highlight issues that people ignore. People are listening? Yeah, sure, Brian says, raising his eyebrows. And what do you have to show for it? Still living in that cramped place, still acting like you're changing the world. It's not working. I feel my face flush. You wouldn't understand. You're just following the same path everyone else is. You've got your nice job, your nice apartment, and you think that's all there is to life. My voice cracks, but I fight the emotion back. I don't want that. I want something that's real. Something that matters. Janet's voice cuts in, sharp and cold. Real? You call this real? You're embarrassing us, Ella. Every time someone asks about you, I have to explain that you're still chasing these unconventional dreams. It's embarrassing. You're a grown woman, and this is what you're doing with your life? Her words hit harder than I expect. I feel the weight of her disappointment, heavy and suffocating. Mom, I'm not trying to embarrass anyone. I'm doing something I believe in. Then why don't you make it work like Brian's job, or like your father's? She waves her hand toward Frank. Look at your dad. He worked hard for everything we have, and you're out here playing photographer like it's some kind of game. I can feel the heat rising in my chest. I want to scream, to let all my frustrations spill out. But I keep it together, gripping the edge of the table. I'm not playing a game. I'm trying to change things. Real change takes time. It's not about the money or the status. I'm almost pleading now, but I don't care anymore. I want to help people. I want to use my work for something bigger than myself. That's all I'm asking for. Frank shakes his head slowly, his face hardening. You don't get it. You're not helping anyone. You're just wasting time on these projects, these causes. While your brother's out there building his career, making something of himself, I bite down on my bottom lip, but the words slip out before I can stop them. You don't get it either, Dad. I'm not you. I'm not Brian. I'm not going to live my life just to make you proud. There's a heavy pause. I can feel all of them looking at me, the weight of their judgment suffocating me. Brian leans forward, eyes narrowed. So what? You just want to be some starving artist, never amounting to anything? You've got no plan, no future. He spits the words like they're poison. You think your camera's going to pay the bills for the rest of your life? I swallow hard, trying to fight back the tears. I'm not starving, Brian. And yes, I have a plan. It's just not the same one you've got. My voice is stronger now. You might think I'm wasting my time, but I don't care anymore. I'm doing this for me, not for you. There's a tense silence in the room. Janet, Frank, and Brian all exchange looks. It's like they're trying to decide if they should just tear me down some more or let the conversation die. Frank's face hardens, like a wall going up. You're making a mistake, Ella, but you'll see. When you realize that this work of yours doesn't get you anywhere, don't come crying to us. I open my mouth, but no words come out. There's nothing left to say. They've made up their minds. I've made up mine. I push back from the table, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. I'm done, I say, my voice tight. I'm not going to sit here and keep explaining myself. You don't understand, and I'm tired of trying to make you. I turn to walk away, my heart racing. Behind me, I hear Frank mutter something, but I don't turn around. It's over. They'll never understand, and maybe that's the point. The phone rings, pulling me out of the numb silence that settled in the aftermath of dinner. I glance at the screen, unknown number. It's too late for anyone from my freelance gigs to be calling. I hesitate, my mind still buzzing with everything that went down earlier, the weight of my family's disappointment dragging behind me like a shadow. But curiosity wins out, and I swipe to answer. Hello? Hi, is this Ella? Ella Green? A warm professional voice greets me, but something about it makes my pulse quicken. Yes, this is her. I'm calling from the Global Impact Photography Contest. I'm pleased to inform you that your project, Voices of the Unheard, has been selected as a finalist for this year's competition. Congratulations. The words hang in the air, and for a second, everything stops. Finalist? My brain scrambles to process it. It takes me a few seconds to even realize I haven't said anything. Hello? Are you still there? The voice on the other end asks, sounding a little concerned. Oh, yeah, sorry. I can't believe it. Thank you so much, I say, forcing the words out. My heart's racing now, the recognition buzzing through my chest like electricity. The voice on the line continues, explaining details about the ceremony, the judges, and the other finalists. But I barely hear it. My mind is still reeling, replaying the words over and over. Finalist! This could change everything. Ella? The voice snaps me back to reality. We're really excited to have you as part of the competition. You'll receive an official email with more details. We look forward to seeing you at the ceremony. Right, thanks again. I'll be there. I hang up before I can say anything else, still holding the phone to my ear, staring at nothing. The weight of the news doesn't sink in right away. But then it hits me. This is real. I should be thrilled. This is exactly the kind of recognition I've been fighting for. But all I can think about is my family. Would they even care? Would they think it's just a fluke? After everything that happened at dinner, I can't imagine telling them. It would feel like I was trying to prove something to them, like I needed their approval to validate this moment. I grab a glass of water, trying to steady myself. But the thought of walking into that ceremony, standing in front of those judges, the other finalists, the photographers I admire, makes my stomach flip. I can't deny it. This is a huge deal. But I can't shake the feeling that no matter how much I achieve, it won't matter to my family. It'll never be enough. The phone buzzes on the counter, pulling me back. I glance at the screen. It's Brian. I ignore it, setting the phone back down. The idea of hearing his voice right now, of dealing with his sarcasm, feels like too much. I'm not in the mood for it. I walk over to my desk, staring at the framed photo of a protest I shot a few years ago, a reminder of why I do this. It wasn't for the accolades, it wasn't for their approval. It was because the stories I capture matter, because they have the power to change things, to make people think. I look back at my phone. The ceremony's coming up, and I know I should tell someone. Shouldn't I share this with my family? But I don't want to play their game. I don't want to go into this hoping for their validation. I don't need them to make me feel like I'm worth something. I make up my mind, I'll go. I'll stand there, on that stage if they call my name, and prove to myself that this, what I'm doing, is valuable. Not for them, not for anyone else, just for me. I breathe out slowly, letting the decision settle in my chest. The rest doesn't matter. What matters now is that I'm doing what I believe in, and that has to be enough. I sit down, pulling up my calendar to mark the date of the ceremony. There's no going back now. The night of the ceremony arrives, and I can't shake the nervous energy thrumming through my body. The venue is massive, the kind of sleek, high-ceilinged space that makes you feel small, like you don't quite belong. Everywhere I look, there's someone in a perfectly tailored suit or designer dress, their faces a little too polished, their confidence a little too practiced. It's like everyone here has done this 100 times before, and I'm the outsider. I slip through the crowd, trying not to seem too out of place. My heels click on the polished floor, and I'm acutely aware of every step, every shift in my posture. My outfit feels cheap in comparison, like I tried but didn't really succeed. I know it's stupid to care about that right now, but I do. The event is a blur of faces and laughter, handshakes and polite smiles. I nod along, but inside, I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of people far more successful than me. They're all talking about their latest projects, their partnerships with high-end brands, their next big opportunities. I smile and listen, but I can't stop the voice in my head whispering, "You don't belong here, they'll figure you out." The moment the ceremony starts, I find a seat toward the back, hoping no one will notice how out of place I feel. The presenters move quickly through the categories, listing off names of people I've never heard of, all these photographers I'm supposed to admire. Then it's time for my category. Now we move on to the finalists for environmental impact in photography. I straighten up, my stomach flipping. The room quiets down, all attention shifting to the stage. I can't breathe. My heart's hammering in my chest. They call the first finalist, then the second, and finally the last name. Ella Green, Voices of the Unheard. For a moment, everything goes silent in my head. I blink, trying to process what just happened. My name, my project. The one I fought for, struggled with, defended, it's being recognized in front of all these people. I stand up so fast I almost knock over my chair. My legs feel like they're made of rubber, but somehow I walk toward the stage without tripping. The applause hits me like a wave. I feel like I'm underwater, the sound muffled and distant, the floor uneven beneath me. They hand me the trophy. It's heavier than I expected, the metal cool against my palm. I look out at the crowd, my heart racing, and for a split second, I wonder if they all see me the same way my family sees me, like I don't belong. But then I push the thought away. This isn't about them. I take the mic, my fingers trembling slightly as I hold it. I try to steady my breath, but the nerves won't go away. The lights are bright, blinding almost, but the faces in the audience are blurry, a sea of shapes and shadows. My voice catches and I clear my throat. Thank you. This is an incredible honor. I can't stop the nervous laugh that escapes my lips. I feel like I'm failing at this, at saying something meaningful. But I push on. I've spent a lot of time working on projects that highlight issues people don't always want to face. Sustainable living, climate change, the voices of those who are often overlooked. It's hard work, and sometimes it feels like no one's listening. The words slip out before I can stop them, my voice strong but shaky. I'm almost surprised by the honesty, by how much of it I'm willing to admit in this moment. And there's been a lot of pushback. I pause for a moment, trying not to make eye contact with the front row. My family's faces flash in my mind. I swallow hard. But this work, this project, it matters. Not just to me, but to everyone who's been affected by these issues. And I think, at the end of the day, that's what keeps me going. The crowd claps again, and I step back from the mic, the weight of the trophy suddenly feeling like an anchor. I smile as best I can, but inside, I'm hollow. I walk off the stage, still stunned, still trying to make sense of what just happened. The applause is still ringing in my ears, but all I can think about is how to avoid the sinking feeling creeping up in my chest. I'm proud of this moment. I really am. But there's a part of me that feels like it doesn't matter, like it's not going to change anything back home. It's hard to shake that feeling, even as the reality of my achievement sinks in. I'm standing in front of hundreds of professionals, and I still can't shake the fear that none of them will ever see me the way I want them to. And the hardest part? I know deep down that no matter how far I go, how much I accomplish, it's never going to be enough for my family. But tonight's for me. I step back into the crowd, the trophy still clutched tightly in my hand. The feeling of validation is overwhelming, but it's also strangely isolating. Maybe that's the price of staying true to yourself. I step away from the crowd, my trophy still heavy in my hands, and find a quiet corner by the drinks table. The weight of the evening is settling on me, and for the first time, I let myself breathe. The applause still echoes in my ears, but now there's space for the truth to settle in. I did it. I pull my phone from my purse, needing to feel connected to something real, something familiar. The screen lights up with a string of messages. Brian's text is the first I see, his words short but dripping with sarcasm. Nice job, Ella. Who knew a camera could do so much? Finalist life. My stomach tightens. I read it again, slower this time, trying to pick out anything that feels genuine, but it's just as hollow the second time. I know what this is. A way for him to say, "See? I told you it wouldn't last. But hey, I guess you got something out of it." It stings, and I can't help but feel that bitter ache of being misunderstood. Again, I swipe past his message, barely letting it register, and move to the next ones. Janet's is first. "I'm so proud of you, Ella. But it's still not a real career. Just don't lose sight of the bigger picture. It's nice to have a hobby, but don't let it be your whole life." Her words hit like a slap. Pride mixed with that familiar tone of "you could do more." She's proud, sure, but only on her terms, not the ones I've set for myself. I read the message twice, trying to figure out if I'm imagining it, but I'm not. It's her way of saying "good for you," but with the weight of her judgment tucked behind the words, as if all of this, the award, the recognition, doesn't really count. It's not a real job. Then there's Frank's message. "Well, Ella, it's a nice trophy, I suppose. But remember, a good career needs stability. This doesn't change the fact that you still need a plan." A plan? My chest tightens, and for a split second, I feel that knot of frustration rise again. A plan? Like I haven't spent years figuring out exactly what I'm doing. Like I haven't fought for every inch of this career. But no matter how much I accomplish, it'll never be enough. Not for him, not for any of them. I exhale sharply, feeling the weight of their conditional approval settle like a stone in my stomach. They don't get it, they'll never get it. And maybe that's something I have to accept. I don't respond. Not to any of them, not tonight, not yet. Instead, I focus on the trophy in my hands. I run my fingers over the cool metal, the engraving on the base catching the light. It's simple, but it's mine, my achievement, something that belongs to me and no one else. For the first time in a long while, I don't feel the pull to seek approval from my family. I know now that it doesn't matter. I push the phone back into my bag and slip it under the table. The ceremony has ended, and the crowd begins to thin out, but I stay in my quiet corner, letting the night settle around me. I don't feel the need to celebrate with anyone else. I don't need to prove anything to anyone, not even to myself. It's hard, though. The quiet, the isolation. I've spent my whole life trying to win their approval. But tonight I didn't need them. And for once, that feels like freedom. Later, as I walk through the city streets to catch a cab back to my hotel, the weight of the trophy shifts in my hand, and I feel the heaviness of the night press into my bones. But it's a different kind of weight now, not the crushing pressure of expectations, but the quiet, steady realization that I've changed. And in a way, so has everything around me. I can't shake the thought. My family hasn't changed. They're still stuck in their version of success. But I'm not. And that's the hardest part to admit. I've grown past them, and they'll never fully see it. But for the first time, that feels like enough. It's a Saturday afternoon, and I've just gotten back from a shoot when I hear the knock at my door. At first, I ignore it, thinking it's some kind of mistake, maybe a delivery. But the knock comes again, more insistent this time. I open the door, and there they are, Mom, Dad, and Brian, standing awkwardly on my doorstep, looking like they just stepped out of a meeting with the Family Reconciliation Handbook. The sight of them, all of a sudden, feels wrong. "Ella," Mom says, her voice softer than usual, like she's trying to coax me into something. We wanted to talk." My stomach twists. I don't know if I want to hear whatever it is they're about to say, but I step aside to let them in. No words are exchanged as they make their way into the living room. Mom immediately moves to the couch, sitting as if the whole thing is normal. Brian hangs back by the door, eyes scanning the apartment like he's trying to figure out if I'm actually living the life he thinks I should. Frank doesn't say anything right away. He just stands by the door, arms crossed, like he's holding a grudge. Ella, Mom says after a few beats of silence, we've been thinking, and we owe you an apology. We didn't handle things well the other night. She pauses, like she's waiting for me to jump in, to thank her for the apology. But the words feel insincere, like they're rehearsed. I cross my arms. Uh-huh. I mean it, she presses, her tone suddenly more earnest. We were hard on you. And I'm sorry. Well, you know how I am. I worry. I nod but don't offer anything more. I'm not buying it. Not yet. Frank clears his throat. Look, that award of yours, it's not nothing. We get that. But it doesn't change the fact that you've spent years, well, not exactly taking responsibility. It's one thing to win a trophy, but the bigger picture? He pauses, trying to soften his words, but the weight of his dismissal hangs in the air anyway. It doesn't erase all the years you've spent going down this unconventional path. I feel my jaw clench. You mean my career? He shifts uncomfortably, but doesn't back down. I'm saying that while it's nice you've gotten some recognition, it doesn't change the fact that you've wasted time. That's all I'm saying. I can feel the anger bubbling up, but I try to keep my voice even. You think this award makes all my years of hard work less valid? That I'm still wasting my time just because it doesn't fit your idea of success? Not exactly, he says, shaking his head. But you can't pretend this is a stable career. This is not what we had in mind for you. You need something more substantial. The words sting more than I expected. More substantial, I repeat, incredulous. You mean something more like Brian's job? The one that you think is the only real job? Brian looks up, his face scrunched in defensiveness. It's not like that, Ella. Dad's just saying you need a plan. You can't keep running around doing whatever you want. I bite back a sharp retort. They don't get it. I've had a plan this entire time. I have a plan, I say, trying to keep the frustration out of my voice. I've been planning this career for years. This isn't just some phase. This is the work I want to do. It's not a hobby. Mom shifts uncomfortably on the couch, clearly trying to navigate the conversation without making things worse. I just think you've had a lot of freedom, Ella. Too much, maybe. You've never really had to settle down like other people your age. I worry you're missing out on what really matters. I blink at her, my chest tightening. What really matters? I ask, my voice rising. You mean the things you and Dad value? The things you expect me to want? A stable job, a house, a perfect little life, all checked off in the right order? I'm not interested in that. I don't want that. I never have. There's a long, heavy pause. The silence between us is thick. I've been doing this because it matters to me, I say, my voice quieter but firm, because I believe in what I'm doing. But every time I try to explain that to you, it's like you just dismiss it. Like I'm just making excuses? Frank looks like he's about to say something, but I don't let him. I'm done, I say, the frustration bubbling over. I'm done trying to get you to see what I'm doing. If you want to rebuild this relationship, then you need to accept me, really accept me. Not just the parts you think are worthy of your approval. If you can't do that, then this, whatever this is, isn't going to work. I stand up, the tension in the room thick as I stare at them, all of them still sitting, trying to digest what I've just said. You can't keep doing this, coming into my life, trying to force me into your mold, expecting me to change to fit your version of success, I say, my voice steady. I'm not doing it anymore. I don't wait for a response. I walk to the door and open it, the message clear. I'm done playing their game. They look at each other, unsure how to respond, but I'm past caring. If they want to fix this, they have to meet me where I am, not try to drag me back to where I was. Goodbye, Ella, Mom says softly. Her voice lacks the conviction she had when she first entered. The words land like a question. I close the door without answering, feeling the sting of the moment, but also the relief. I've said what needed to be said. Now, I'm finally free to move forward. After the ceremony, things started to shift in ways I couldn't have predicted. My inbox filled with emails from environmental organizations, nonprofits, and advocacy groups, all offering opportunities to collaborate. There were high-profile projects, photo essays for international publications, and speaking engagements at forums I never thought would take me seriously. It felt surreal, the kind of validation I dreamed about but never really expected. I felt my confidence growing with each new offer. For the first time in my life, it wasn't just about surviving in the industry, I was thriving in it. But the weight of my family's silence never quite left me. I could feel the distance stretching out between us, and part of me knew that their approval had always been conditional. No matter what I accomplished, it would never be enough unless it fit into their definition of success. And that thought lingered, gnawing at the edges of my satisfaction. Then came Brian's text. Hey, Ella, congrats on the award again. Big deal, huh? Listen, there's this event coming up at my firm, and I thought it'd be great if you could come speak. Share your experience and everything. It could be a good opportunity for both of us. My stomach twisted as I read it. I'd barely heard from Brian since the ceremony, but now that my success could benefit him, here he was, wanting to use me. I didn't even bother responding at first. The thought of him using my work to elevate his career, like he was somehow entitled to my success, made my blood boil. But after a few days of stewing on it, I gave in and called him. Brian, I got your message, I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. I don't really think that's a good idea. Why not? He asked too casually, like he was entitled to my time and my story. It'd be a win-win. You get exposure and I get some credibility. You've got the award now, and people want to hear from you. This could be a big thing for both of us. You don't get it, I said, my frustration rising. You're using my work to make yourself look good. That's not why I do what I do. I'm not here to help you build your career. Brian paused, like he was processing my words, but then he let out a sigh. Okay, I get it. But think about it. You can't ignore the fact that we're family. This could help both of us. Family doesn't mean using each other's success for their own gain, I snapped. I'm not going to help you get ahead just because you think it'll make your life easier. There was a long silence on the other end. I could almost hear him thinking about his next move, recalculating how he could spin this to his advantage. Look, I'm just trying to help you, okay? If you don't want to, fine. But don't act like I'm the one trying to take something from you. You're not helping me, Brian, I said, my voice tight. You're using me, and I'm done being used. I ended the call before he could say anything else. I sat down, breathing a little harder than I should have. It was like a weight had been lifted, but the emptiness of it all left me unsettled. I started to realize something in that moment. My family didn't care about my work unless it had some direct benefit to them. They never saw it as meaningful on its own. They only acknowledged its value when it could be turned into something that served their needs. And that was something I couldn't keep ignoring. I kept my distance after that, avoiding calls and texts. When they finally reached out to me again, I didn't respond, knowing that if I did, it would only be because they wanted to claim a piece of my success for themselves. I realized that if I was ever going to make it in this world, on my own terms, for my own reasons, I needed to stop letting them define my worth. I needed to stop seeking validation from a family that would only give it on the condition that it fit their vision. So I focused on my work, the projects, the collaborations, the meaningful photo essays. I said yes to the things that aligned with my values and no to the things that didn't. It felt good to put myself first, to prioritize the work I believed in over the expectations they'd piled on me. The offers kept coming, each one a reminder that I was making the right choice. And slowly, I began to accept that the recognition I'd always longed for, real recognition, not the conditional kind, was happening on my own terms. For the first time in my life, I felt fully aligned with what I was doing, and that was enough. A few weeks after my decision to distance myself from my family, I received an email that shook me to my core. It was from one of the most respected environmental magazines in the industry. They'd seen my work, specifically my project on sustainable living, and they wanted to offer me a full-time position as a staff photographer. The position was based in another city, far from everything I'd known. The offer came with a competitive salary, access to high-profile projects, and, most importantly, the chance to work on real global environmental change. At first, I stared at the screen, unsure if I was even reading it right. The opportunity was everything I had ever wanted. A chance to make a true impact on the issues I cared about, to build my career even further. But the weight of the decision hit me hard. Moving would mean leaving behind everything I'd known. It would mean leaving my family, leaving them behind for good, for a career that, in their eyes, would never be real enough. I sat there for hours, weighing the pros and cons. On one hand, it was the opportunity of a lifetime, the kind of breakthrough I'd been dreaming of. On the other hand, it would mean cutting the last ties I had to a place, a family, that never truly saw me for who I was. I knew what I had to do. I pulled up my phone, found my family's contact thread, and stared at it for a long moment. My thumb hovered over the screen. I wasn't sure what I was going to say yet, but I knew it had to be done. It was time to break the news. I typed, "I've decided to accept the job offer. I'll be moving to Portland in 2 weeks to start working at Green Horizons magazine. I know this is a big change, but it feels like the right move for me." I hesitated for a moment before hitting send. No turning back now. The response came almost immediately. Brian's text was first. "Portland? Seriously? You're just going to leave? Again?" I could almost hear the disbelief in his voice, even through text. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I sat back, letting the message sit in the air. Then, my mom's message popped up. "Ella, we need to talk about this. Moving away again? You're just running from us. You can't keep doing this. We need you here." I felt a flicker of guilt, but it was fleeting. I wasn't running from them. I was moving forward in a direction that was mine. And then Frank's message came through, even colder than the rest. "Don't think this changes anything. You've made your choice, and it's a shame. You're abandoning us again. You should know that." I let out a slow breath, the familiar sting of their disappointment biting at me, but it didn't hurt the way it used to. In some way, it felt like a release, like I was finally cutting the last thread that had kept me tied to their expectations. I didn't respond. Not then. I put the phone down and let the reality of it settle in. 2 weeks later, I packed my things, said my goodbyes, and left behind the city that had been my home for so long. The move to Portland wasn't easy, but it was necessary. I stepped into a new chapter, one where my success wasn't defined by my family's approval, and I didn't have to justify my choices to anyone. The job itself was everything I'd hoped for. I worked on projects that had the potential to shift perspectives and push boundaries. The magazine was exactly the kind of platform I needed to get my message out to a larger audience. Each day felt like a fresh start. I could walk into the office without feeling like I had to apologize for what I was doing or explain why it mattered. I wasn't just a photographer, I was part of something bigger. And every shoot, every article, every campaign felt like I was building the foundation for something that truly made a difference. And for the first time in my life, I felt empowered. I felt like I was doing exactly what I was meant to do. No strings attached, no compromises, no conditions. In Portland, my life became my own. My success, my values, my voice. Finally, they belonged to me. I still heard from my family, sporadically. Brian tried to reach out once, asking me to help him with a project. It was the same game, just with a new spin. I ignored him, just as I ignored the endless guilt trips from my parents. There was a sense of peace that settled over me as the months went by. I was building my career, and more importantly, I was building a life that felt true to who I was. For the first time, I wasn't asking for anyone's permission. This was my beginning, my own. 2 years had passed since I left everything behind, and it still felt like the right decision every single day. I'd built a career that not only felt fulfilling, but was also making an actual difference in the environmental field. My byline was now in top publications, I was giving talks at conferences, and my work was being featured in major exhibitions. I had my own voice, my own platform, and it was mine alone to build. But with success came the occasional reminders from my family, messages here and there, always asking how I was doing, but never really engaging with what I was doing. The distance had created a strange dynamic. They'd gotten used to the fact that I wasn't going to change, but it was clear they still didn't fully understand my choices. They tried to be supportive now, but their comments always had that undertone of concern. Brian texted me just last week, asking how the photography business was going. I rolled my eyes. Business. He never did get that what I was doing wasn't just about turning a profit. My parents? They'd gotten better at pretending they were okay with it. Mom would occasionally send me a message after seeing one of my pieces in a magazine or an article about sustainable living. "Great work, Ella. Glad to see your name out there." But there was always a hesitation, a distance in the way she phrased it, as if, even after all this time, she still couldn't fully accept it. I'd gotten used to it. I didn't need their approval anymore. It took me a long time to realize that, but now it felt like freedom. I reflected on how far I'd come, how much had changed since I walked away from them and from everything that wasn't true to me. Back then, I was scared. I thought I was running away from something, but I wasn't. I was running toward myself, toward a future that I wanted to build. And here I was in this new life, a life that made sense to me. I stood in my small Portland apartment, looking out over the skyline, the city bustling below. It was a far cry from the house I grew up in, from the place where I always felt like I was trying to fit into a mold that wasn't meant for me. Now, I was exactly where I needed to be, doing work that mattered, that fit me. True success, I'd realized, wasn't about family approval, accolades, or having everyone see eye to eye with your choices. It was about doing what felt right, regardless of the noise around you. It was about looking at the life you built and knowing without a doubt that it was your own. I didn't need them to see it anymore. I didn't need anyone to validate me. The work spoke for itself. As I checked my phone, another message popped up. It was from Mom. Just saw your latest article in EcoLife. Really proud of you, Ella. I'm still not sure I get it all, but I'm happy for you. A small smile tugged at my lips. It wasn't the kind of recognition I once hoped for, but it was enough. Maybe she'd never fully understand. Maybe none of them would. But I had my peace now, and that was enough. I set the phone down, letting the quiet of my apartment settle over me. My career was mine, my choices were mine, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly at home in my own skin. I'd found my true purpose, and that was a success I could be proud of.